Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Katz and Cosby with John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby.
And welcome to Katz and Cosby. We have an action-packed studio here tonight. John Katzimatidis is going to be joining us soon. He is at a big WABC radio golf outing. And joining us here in studio for the hour, we are so thrilled to have the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Mike Turner. Mr. Chairman, it's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
We are thrilled. And boy, there are so many topics to talk with you about. We also, of course, have former New York Congressman Peter King, I think an old friend of yours, and of all of ours here in the studio. Also, Judge Richard Weinberg, and also New York GOP Chairman Ed Cox. And before we get going, you guys, we have a couple quick little birthday salutes.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday.
And we are playing a little birthday because it is Governor George Pataki, former New York governor's birthday, and also head of the FBI in New York, another great friend of the show, George Venizelos. So happy birthday to the two Georges, and we love you guys both. One of the big stories, of course, guys, is, and this is right in your wheelhouse, Mr. Chairman, what's been happening with the border. Just a little bit ago, there was the case that took place in Houston, Texas, of this girl, a 12-year-old girl, who was brutally murdered by these two illegal migrants. We are hearing of all of these migrant crimes. This mother was pleading, saying, throw the book at these guys. And the DA says if there's ever a case that epitomizes what happens with an open border, it's the heinousness and brutality of this. How concerned should we be, Mr. Chairman, about the open border?
Well, obviously, you hear stories like this that are just heartbreaking, and you know that they're completely avoidable if we would just enforce the border and make certain that we have controls in place. The types of controls that obviously President Trump had in place. The concern really is, and when we're hearing it all over, that you've got the FBI director openly saying that we've got the highest level of terrorist threat since 9/11, and as he's going up to Capitol Hill and making it clear that he sees those threats, he's laying out what really is the natural result of the southern border being open. No matter how good law enforcement is, if you let people in who intend to do us harm, and as Director Ray has said, we have people in this country who have come across the southern border who have affiliated ties with ISIS and al-Qaeda and are in communications with ISIS and al-Qaeda, and it is their intention to do harm to Americans.
Yeah. By the way, I understand we have John Katzimatidis joining us remotely. John, your thoughts about what we're talking about with this open border?
Well, that's one of the biggest problems we have in our country right now, not controlling who's coming and going. I believe in immigration. I'm an immigrant. I want immigration. But we have to know, just like Ellis Island, we have to know who's coming and going, and we have to make sure they don't bringing in criminals. They're not bringing in people that are going to hurt the American people. They're not going to bring in kids that have diseases. They're going to sit next to our kids. In other words, we need another Ellis Island. It has to go through checks and balances, and that's all I'm saying. And the right thing. And again, they have to wait their turn a little bit. They just can't just flood the borders. You can't ask everybody in Africa, everybody in Central America, come on in. I mean, it doesn't work. Yeah. That's my comment.
Yeah. By the way, John, I agree with you. Judge Weinberg, I will say one thing, and I rarely say this because I have been very disappointed with a lot of these judges of late who've been soft on a lot of the revolving door that we've seen of justice. This judge in Texas just a little bit ago imposed a $10 million bail. Thank goodness. That's a very high bail. It was higher than even what the prosecutors wanted. So bravo to the judge. But these guys were clearly a flight risk. And one of them The guy, I believe it was in court today, had an ankle bracelet on. He crossed the border 3 weeks ago. They arrested him. They put an ankle bracelet on, and they're accusing him of committing the murder while he had the ankle bracelet on.
The dirty little secret, Rita and John, is that ankle bracelets don't work.
You think?
They do not work. You don't have to be a genius to figure it out. They can be cut off, and you also need somebody monitoring it at all times to see where they are. But the real question I have, and I don't know the state law of Texas, I know New York law, something like this, I wouldn't have said bail at all. I would just remanded without bail. I wouldn't even let some extreme group could come up with some money, an apology group, try to chase up bail, because you only have to have about 10 or 15% to make the bail bond anyway. So I never would have said bail. I would have remanded. No bail, just keep them in during the trial.
Peter King, your thoughts?
I think, to me, the overriding concern here is the whole terrorist threat. We've seen here in New York what can happen. If you can get 2 or 3 trained terrorists, they can bring the city to ruins. If we're talking about thousands coming across the border, we are really at risk. And that's Mike and I on the Intelligence Committee is doing all they can. I'm not a great fan of the FBI director, but I agree with him on this one. I think this is worse than September 10th. Wow.
Chairman Mike Turner, your thoughts. Do you agree that this is worse than September 10th, that the threat level is that high?
Well, certainly we can't speculate as to the scale of what an attack may be. But when you have the FBI director openly, publicly warning that the threat level is highest since it was in September 11th, and that it's a result of people coming across the southern border, and that they're in touch with terrorist groups and organizations, that means this is organized, this is funded, these people are trained. This is not a lone wolf, someone who just has nefarious intent. It certainly shows that, as a direct result of the Biden administration's policies of this open border, we have people here who are inside the United States who intend to do us harm, and law enforcement is working diligently to try to find those people and bring them off the streets. But at the same time, the numbers are just so extraordinary that the risk is great.
Yeah, and also Pete was just talking about the threat level of also terrorist attack. We had those guys, the 8 ones from Tajikistan, just recently come in, and we still don't really know the fate of what happened to them, how they got in the country. So it's not just obviously potentially this guy, who obviously I wouldn't believe this is his first attack if you do this to a 12-year-old precious girl. But you've got these guys who are coming from these countries that we're clearly at odds with. I mean, you've Iranians, we have Chinese. What do you think about the fact, Mr. Chairman, that there's been, it's like 30,000 Chinese who've crossed our border? And that's a staggering number.
But this is really the tragedy of the Biden administration's policies, and really the fallacy of the policies. They're letting people in when they say they don't have any intelligence, that they have, what they call derogatory information about the individuals coming across. We don't have perfect intelligence. We don't have intelligence on everyone in the world. But when someone comes from an area that is at risk, where there's activities that place us at risk, and they present themselves at our border, there's no explanation as to how they got there. You can pretty much assume that they had assistance and help, and it's not assistance and help because they just want freedom and a better life. These people are coming here with an intention that as the director of the FBI has said, it intends to do us harm and places us at risk.
Yeah, and also, look, we've got Israel Hamas, too, at this same time. I mean, this is such a cauldron, and you think about even what's going on with Russia, Ukraine. There are so many threats out there. How do you keep track of them, Mr. Chairman? I mean, it's just so many of them.
It's an easy job.
Yeah. I was going to say, how do you sleep? Because there are so many from so many different directions.
Well, the frustrating aspect really is that, again, the failure of the Biden administration's policies. When you look at Ukraine, even the Secretary General of NATO has come up against some of the Biden policies, the restrictions that have been placed upon Ukraine. The Secretary General of NATO has described it as having Ukraine fight with one arm tied behind their back. Well, you can't win. This is how you get a forever war, by giving them so many restrictions that they cannot win. They're beginning slowly, as a result of public pressure and international pressure, to relieve some of those, which hopefully can give the edge back to Ukraine. If you put Russians and Ukrainians at a front line fighting each other with equal firepower, the Ukrainians are going to win. But if you give them restrictions, if you don't give them the weapons that they need, then we're going to have this conflict continue with the risk that Ukraine could lose. And, of course, Vladimir Putin's not going to stop there.
What about Israel, too? Because
Same
it
thing
came
with
out
Israel.
again that they say they're not getting all the weapons that they were promised. And then we heard the back and forth with the Biden administration. I mean, the way Schumer scolded Netanyahu.
Right, and it really is back and forth. I mean, the thing that's so crazy about this is it's as if they have buyer's remorse whenever they pick a side. Here we're for Israel. We're against Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization. It is a franchise of Iran. They're not a standalone organization. They're like Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis are all just franchise part of the structure of Iran. And the Biden administration continues to not give full support to Iran full support to Israel with the ability for them to do the job that they need to take down Hamas.
Ed Cox, your thoughts?
Yeah, Chairman, I don't understand why the Biden administration didn't let the Ukrainians use everything that they could be trained on and use right from the start. If they had done that, I think they would have defeated Putin, and it would have changed perhaps a geopolitical change in the world because he would have been out and Russia would gravitate probably to the West. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Remember, the Russians were on the run. They came in almost making it to Kyiv, and then the Ukrainians pushed them out. If we had given them the weapons that they needed at the time, they would have been able to continue to push Russia out. The problem is with the long-range weapons is that Russia is able to stand off. They're able to go farther out than the Ukrainians were able to hit them and hit the front line. Giving them longer-range weapons, giving the ability to hit into Russia where Russia's firing from, makes a difference to the outcome here.
But we had weapons that were long-range weapons, but did not give them to the Ukrainians.
Absolutely.
Those are the ATACMS and some other things like that.
Absolutely.
Wow. Go ahead, Judge Weinberg, real quick.
And Mr. Chairman, it's also true they did the same tactic and the same approach with respect to Israel. They held Israel back. They didn't give them what they needed. Every way along this fight, they've extended the war. Instead of making it quicker and more decisive, they've extended it. And now you have the risk of having another fight on the northern border with Hezbollah. What say you, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I truly do believe that this administration's mixed signals, their failure to provide weapon systems when needed, their almost buyer's remorse in the system when they do make a commitment, that they even make statements publicly undermining their own position, make it very difficult for both of these conflicts to be concluded.
Yeah, wow, what a mess. I mean, it feels like the world's on fire, the border's on fire. I mean, there are so many issues here. Well, joining us now here on the show is Mark Penn, the great pollster. Of course, a lot of these topics are going to come up, I'm sure, at the debate, which is now just a few days away. And Mark with us in studio, we have Peter King, Ed Cox, Judge Weinberg, and also the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Chairman Mike Turner. Mark, first of all, what's the over-under on the debate? Is Biden going to make it through, first of all? Because he's practicing over the weekend. There were reports he was practicing to stand up for 90 minutes. Forget the substance.
Remember, debates are all about expectations. So he's got the lowest expectations. That's a problem. I think that you're going to have to see. I think he's going to come out fighting the entire time. How that's going to play, I don't know, but I think he's going to be loaded for bear, and that's what I think he's going to try to do. And we'll see where it gets.
Yeah. Do you think I agree with you on that point, Mark, because at the State of the Union, when he came out, it was sort of the angry Joe Biden, pounding his fist. And it was like, whoa, I was looking for corn pop, because he wanted to have the fight with corn pop years before. So I'm thinking, oh my God. And so it may be that he's also been preparing a lot. He's been at Camp David, and he said to be at Camp David through the week. What do you think are going to be the sort of the hot button issues, and where do you see the strategy being? Because the word is that Joe Biden is going to be sort of the attack dog, and it's going to be Trump, January 6th, threat to democracy. How do you see this going? Because also they're not going to talk over each other. They won't be able to, according to at least the CNN. They're saying they're going to have the mic sort of individual. So it's not really a debate per se.
Well, I don't know. I actually like them turning off the mics. I like a little decorum. I love the Kennedy-Nixon debates. I wish they could have like people from the press from different networks, from CNN and Fox and whatnot, alternate. Then it won't be, that'll make it really like an old-fashioned debate. Look, I think that is the strategy of the Biden campaign. Make Trump unacceptable, attack, felon, democracy, January 6th, avoid talking about inflation, immigration, or crime, and talk about abortion. And that's their strategy. So I don't think there's going to be any change of strategy on their point. I mean, the real question is whether Trump is going to really play a little bit more towards the middle and try to sweep up those voters in the center compared to playing to his base.
Hey, Mark, this is Pete King. What should Trump do when he's attacked? Should he rebut the attacks, or should he go on offense himself, talk about what he achieved during his administration?
Well, look, in an ideal world, you rebut the attack briefly and then pivot to either what you did or what you're going to do or some combination. That's what you do in an ideal world. Now, I think they're counting on the fact that he has trouble doing that. He's going to want to go in to the details of refutation and burn up all his time. That's going to be their strategy, is get Trump on the defensive, defending himself all the time. What did he do January 6th? How is he a convicted felon? How is he going to serve when he's in prison? If they can throw him on the defensive, that's going to win.
Wait, did you say when he's in prison there for a second? Was that a Freudian slip or something, Mark?
No, I mean, that's what they're going to say. They're not going to say, that's what I just telling you, that is the way they are going to paint this, to like exactly that, to put him on the defense, get him riled up. That's clear.
But but Mark, what about on the flip side? You can imagine that Trump has a lot of ammo that he could go after with Joe Biden. He could say, let's talk about what's going on the border. And Joe Biden has been known to get a little testy. In fact, the moment I thought was the most interesting at the State of the Union, and I mean, it was a wild moment with him and sort of Marjorie Taylor Greene when she was saying, say her name, and then he says Lincoln Riley. He doesn't say Laken Riley. But then they were kind of going back at it. So he's kind of known to get a little off script himself.
Well, right. And if Trump can keep it on 19% price increases, millions of people in the country illegally, crime and migrant crime, if he can keep it on those topics and if he can keep it on those topics and a better life for you, whether you're Hispanic, Black, Asian, white, anything that you are, if he can stick to those things, then obviously that's going to mean something to people out there. If it's a battle of felons and Hunter Biden and whatnot, then people are just going to look at it and say, well, the issues in the end, when they don't like either candidate, in the end, they will vote on the issues. That's the paradox of when. Remember, the people in the center here don't like either candidate. They've got things they don't like about Biden. They've got things they don't like about Trump. And so they're going to look for what's going to make their life better. And
everybody, we're talking to pollster Mark Penn. Judge Weinberg.
Mark, good to talk to you again. Let me ask you this question. How does Trump handle these two moderators of this debate when both of them have track records of being so hostile to Trump and making all these accusations against him over the years?
I don't think people have any trouble if he fires back at the moderators, because remember, the moderators, 4 years earlier didn't let him talk about Hunter Biden, moved on, said, shut down debates on any issues. I don't think, if he's going to I think that it's one thing to just, degenerate into an argument with Biden. It is another thing to push back on these moderators. I think it's fair game. I think him against the press, he always wins. I'm a little less worried about that. And in fact, with these moderators, he's probably going to have to push back because their goal is going to be to make him look bad. They can't be the CNN moderator who let Trump win a debate. That's like, game ender for a moderator who works at CNN.
Yeah, by the way, coming up also later on the show, we have Bill O'Reilly, and we're going to be talking about a moment that's making headlines all over the country today, where Casey Hunt, who's the host there on CNN, didn't want to hear when the Trump national spokesperson said, about some of the bias that CNN has shown and these moderators have shown. And she finally said, you're done. I wonder if that's the way they're going to handle it on Thursday night. Ed Cox.
In the end, Mark, do debates really matter? Isn't it what the impact of the incumbents administration has been on people's lives, and whether you're better off now than you were 4 years ago? Isn't that the real issue? The real issues, inflation.
Well, that's the issue, but that's right. But this debate matters. It's an early debate. They still have 20-25% of the people who could change their mind here. They haven't seen these two people. They have questions about both of them. There's going to be a huge audience. I think this could be, by the time you get the audience for the actual debate. And then, remember, you have to win the debate, and then you have to win the spin that comes out of the debate, and then you have to win the clips which go on social media to the debate. So it's a very complex thing. But when you think about the level of communications here coming out of this debate, can it change voters 5%? Yes, it can.
Mark, before I let you go, to Ed's point and your point, Van Jones, the CNN commentator, came out, and Van's clearly on the left side, but he's also pretty straight ahead. He said the other day that if Biden has a weak performance, it's over for him. Do you agree?
I think the dangerous thing about what the Biden camp did with this debate is to schedule it before the convention. I have always said 100% Biden is the nominee. If for some reason, and I don't think it's that likely, Biden really falters in the debate, stares off into space, whatever, yes, that is the one thing that could cost him the nomination.
Your thoughts?
Unlikely, but it could happen.
Chairman Turner, we have here in the studio. Your thoughts, Chairman Mike Turner?
Well, I think one thing we should always think of when we talk about Biden is that because of his history and senator, his longtime service, I mean, this is sort of, his muscle memory. The debating structure is something he's familiar with. You could probably wake him up in the middle of the night and he could, roll onto the Senate floor and do a debate. I think here, though, Trump does have an opportunity, and that is talk to the American public. And I hope that the noise and the chaos around doesn't take hold. He has a record. He needs to talk about that record. And there's certainly the Biden administration has a record comparing the two in all the issues that are important to Americans. Trump has a plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark Penn, thank you very much, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, stick with us, of course. And Mark, thank you so much. We'll see what happens Thursday night. And coming up on Katz and Cosby, we'll talk about the economic record that President Trump can certainly tout. That after the break.
You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby, live from the Garden City Country Club. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. We're going to be talking with Steve Moore in just a moment. But first, let's go out to John, who is out at the Garden City Country Club in New York for the big WABC Radio annual golf outing. It's with United Metro Energy and WABC Radio. John.
Reporting out here from the Garden City Golf Tournament, WABC Golf Tournament, and we have one of our advertisers, Michelle Scalise. And Michelle, you have from Security Dodge and Chrysler Jeep Ram, right?
Yes. Thank you for having me.
And tell us, are you having a good day out here on the golf course?
I am having a great day. This morning, seeing everybody here, they were all getting riled up to play. Just the event itself, we're just super, super excited. Super excited for having me here.
Understood. And tell us about you. You have a car out here that's on display. Tell us about that.
I do. I have a 2024 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. It's a carbide edition. They're leasing now for $8.99 a month.
$8.99. I'll take two.
$8.99. You'll take two.
Come
get some.
That's pretty good. That's a cheap price, and interest rates haven't come down yet. How can you do it so cheap?
We have our ways.
You have your ways.
I can't tell you the secrets.
And there was a car that went berserk before that. It wasn't one of yours.
It was definitely not a Jeep. I think it was. Can I say what it was?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it was a Rivian.
A what?
A Rivian.
Oh, my God.
Right?
It hit. How many people did it hit?
I think two.
Oh,
I think two. Somebody went flying.
And it was an electric car or something?
It was an electric car, apparently. I don't want to say anything about electric cars because we have hybrids, but apparently I guess it lost a little bit of electricity or something happened. I'm not really sure.
Michelle Scalise, thank you so much. We love you. And keep advertising on WABC. You get a lot of pounds for your dollar.
I'm excited. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Don't forget to come get some.
Wow. John, you and her are having a ball over there. That sounds like so much fun. And we're going to get back to you later on in the show. And joining us now is a guy who knows the price of cars and a lot more, is Steve Moore, the great economist. Of course, he's the host of More Money on WABC 1 to 3 p.m. on Saturdays. Steve, money is going to be a big issue, the economy at the debates. We were just talking before, of course, about the tax cuts that the Biden team is set to have it expire. So all the benefits that we saw under President Trump and the roaring economy, now the Biden team selling that, well, guess what? We're going to raise your taxes. So I think it's going to be a really important point for President Trump to make it crystal clear at the debate. This is not good for anybody in America. Your thoughts of how big an issue economy is and also how important it is for Trump to really hit it home on those points.
Well, great lead editorial in the Wall Street Journal today on this very point, that basically Biden is really proposing the biggest tax increase in American history after having the biggest spending spree in American history. And look, I guess if you believe that we can tax and spend our way to prosperity, then Joe Biden is your man. I mean, what can I say? This is audacious. I mean, the massive growth of government spending and debt, now to be paid for by massive increases in taxes on capital gains, on small businesses, on American corporations, on investment. And John Catsimatidis, he wants to tax unrealized capital gains, which has never happened before in the history of this country. That would be a killer for business investment.
So I guess Bidenomics is not working. We also have in studio with us, of course, we have Pete King, Judge Weinberg, Ed Cox, and also Chairman Mike Turner, of course, Chairman of the House Intel Committee. Mr. Chairman.
Steve, thank you so much for your comments on this. I think another aspect of the tax cuts that are expiring is there really was, I believe, a sense that this was a package that was designed for economic growth, that it was an economic driver, and that there was also a sense that there was fairness, that the tax cuts that were put in place, and everybody who's looking around their kitchen table for what the impacts were to them, there was a sense that this was both fair and an economic growth.
Under Trump, you're saying.
Under Trump. And so now as they go to look at allowing these to expire, we would return back to a system that was viewed as inequitable and that also was stifling our economy.
Well, first of all, you were one of the people in the Congress who voted for that great tax bill. It's been a roaring success. We saw big investment business, and big increase in investment. We brought a lot of capital home. We also had a big increase in the revenues. The rich actually paid more under that tax plan than they had previously. So in every way, that tax
Hey, Steve, we're losing you. We're losing you a little bit audio-wise.
Well, I'm in Sun Valley, Idaho, and the mountains, so you may be losing me.
What a show-off. What a show-off. Ed Cox, what a show-off. Ed, go ahead.
Steve, Biden's got an inflation problem, cumulative inflation problem. Is he also about to have a stagflation problem with the third quarter GDP annualized growth was 4.9%, and now it's dropped in the first quarter of this year to 1.3%?
Yep, you got it. And, it's growing a little faster in the second quarter, but over the last 6 or 7 quarters, we've averaged about 1.5% growth. And you can't do anything 1.5% growth. We've got to get to 3 to 4%. That's what Trump is saying. We can do that, through the technology, by better, reducing regulations. How about producing more American oil and gas? All these things would be enormously beneficial to the economy and cause growth. And growth is the best way to reduce the deficit. Get people working. Get companies making money. And what's wrong with companies earning a profit, by the way? Without profits, you're not going to have a business.
Right, and you're not going to have employees. Well, Steve Moore, thank you very, very much. We love having you. We're totally jealous that you're in Sun Valley, but have fun.
Yeah. It's 75 and sunny, and I'm in the mountains, and I'm speaking to the Sun the Sun Valley Republican Club.
Oh, my God. And we're ducking from muggers and marijuana in New York. Thanks a lot. Okay, great. Thanks a lot very much, Steve Moore. And now to the big headlines of the day.
It's the top news of the day, sponsored by Goya. Here's Rita Cosby.
Well, voters head to the polls tomorrow for primaries in Colorado, Utah, and New York. Progressive Democrat Jamal Bowman is fighting to keep his seat in New York's 16th congressional district. He faces a big challenge from Westchester County Executive George Latimer. Now, polls suggest that Bowman, a member of the so-called squad, is in real danger of losing his seat after his pro-Palestinian rhetoric and also swearing that took place over the weekend, among many other things. Also, as we were talking about at the top here of the show, the first presidential debate is now just 3 days away. President Biden has been prepping with advisors in Camp David. Meanwhile, former President Trump held a rally in Philly over the weekend. The debate's going to be held Thursday night from Atlanta, and me and Bill O'Reilly will be with you during the debate and also afterwards. It's going to be one for the record books, so make sure you tune in. And also, Houston officials are slamming U.S. immigration policy after what we talked about with the chairman here. A very sad story. A 12-year-old girl was brutally murdered by 2 illegal migrants. ICE says the Venezuelan men crossed the border illegally just a few weeks ago near El Paso and were released with notices to appear in court. They're accused of strangling 12-year-old Joycelyn Ngari and then dumping her body in a creek on Monday. And those are the top headlines of the day.
You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. John is out at the golf course today, a big, huge event, WABC Radio and United Metro Energy annual golf outing. We're going to go to him in a minute. In the studio with us, though, is Peter King, Ed Cox, Judge Weinberg, and also we are lucky enough to have the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Chairman Mike Turner. Joining us now is Andy McCarthy, the former assistant U.S. attorney for New York in the Southern District. Andy, we got a full house. We got a great house here. Yeah, we do top notch, Andy. And boy, there's a lot to talk about on the legal front. Big discussion today because Jack Smith wants to have a partial gag order on Trump. You can't make it up. This is in the Florida classified documents case. Because guess what? I guess a gag order from New York is not enough on President Trump. I mean, what? Is there like any other word that he could say? How many more people want to chime in? Andy, your thoughts? It's really incredible.
Yeah, well, I thought from the beginning, Rita, that, you know, if these judges were really concerned about the administration of justice in their cases, the easy thing to do is postpone the trials until after the election. That way you don't have to have a collision between administering a trial and the First Amendment rights of a candidate to campaign for office and of the public to have an election and a campaign that's free of impingements by the judiciary. And the New York one, the one down in Florida is ridiculous, but the New York one, I mean, why do they still need a gag order on Trump when the trial is over, so there's no excuse about administering the trial, and the judge in that case is going to sentence Trump on July 11th? I mean, if that isn't – I mean, how much more leverage could Judge Merchan have over Trump than the fact that he's going to impose a sentence on him on July 11th? Why isn't that enough encouragement to Trump to behave himself within the lines that the court has prescribed? Why there has to be a gag order of such dubious constitutional grounding is bizarre to me.
Yeah, it seems so shocking and un-American, especially as you bring up in the middle of the presidential season here and the campaign. You got the debate. I mean, it's shocking that you can muzzle a candidate who's the leading candidate. Chairman Mike Turner.
I just think it's an incredible point that you made of that when the case is over, you don't have that statements can have a presidential outcome or effect. And in this instance, what, are they going to put these in perpetuity? Are they going to, when he's president of the United States, if he's elected, have a continuing gag order?
Yeah, that's a great point.
This is
Right.
this clearly is an effort to muzzle him, not an issue with respect to justice or the administration of justice.
Yeah, King.
Yeah, Andy, this Friday, I assume the Supreme Court's going to come down on the immunity case. How do you see that going?
I think they're going to grant a limited immunity. It won't be as sweeping as what former President Trump is asking for. And I think I keep going back, Pete, to the oral argument back in April, because Justice Barrett and Justice Kagan got some concessions out of Trump's lawyer, John Sauer, that some of the stuff that's in the indictment just is not covered by immunity. However the court defines the scope of what presidential immunity is, they conceded that some of the behavior that's charged in the indictment is what they would call private rather than official acts. I think that if there's enough of that, like if there's enough stuff that the Supreme Court says is private or that they've conceded is private, what I think may happen is that Jack Smith could try to scoop that up and push that part of the case to trial prior to the election. If he decides he's going to fight over immunity, like if the court sends the case back to Judge Chutkan and says, hold hearings so that we can figure out what stuff is public behavior or official acts and what stuff is private, then that's going to be a live immunity issue, and there's no way that case will ever get to trial, which I think is what former President Trump wants. But if Smith really wants to get to trial, he'll leave that stuff on the cutting room floor and just try to get to trial on the things that they've already conceded are not covered by immunity.
All right. Well, Andy McCarthy, thank you so much for your great perspective. We love having you here on the show. It's certainly going to be a busy week in the courts on all of these issues. Wow. Thank you so much, Andy. We appreciate it.
Thanks. You guys have a great day.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you. And John, now let's go back out to you there in Garden City at the Garden City Country Club in New York, there in beautiful Long Island, New York. Of course, the United Metro Energy and WABC Radio golf outing. John, what do you have?
What is today? Is Marty Dolan running against AOC. My God. Well, Marty, thank you for being at the golf outing here. It's a beautiful day and beautiful music behind us. A Frank Sinatra impersonator. We have Johnny Arvino, and he speaks pretty good. I mean, he sings pretty good.
I wonder if he can sing Closing Time.
Well, who knows? Let's see. Now, you're running against AOC in the primary.
That's right.
And, well, we got in Westchester, we got
George Latimer.
Latimer running against
Jamal
Bowman, and he's 17 points ahead. Are you going to win tomorrow's primary against AOC?
We're going to win tomorrow's primary against AOC, and I'm going to be with you in the studio on Wednesday because we will have turned
victory.
We are going to win if the voters get out and vote. That's the number one thing, is we have everything in our campaign except a time machine. You can't say on Wednesday, oh, I wish I could have voted.
You have enough people to polls to make sure nobody cheats?
So we do, but we're getting help from the federal government because the Justice Department announced in the last hour that they're sending poll monitors in to monitor the election because they're concerned that there could be some, funny business.
Well, look, you got 3 key races tomorrow that I know of. You got your race against AOC, Latimer's race against Bowman. Bowman is the guy that pulled the lever on the alarm box, the fire alarm box, and he denied it until Congress came up and showed him the tape.
It's funny what a video will tell you, right?
Absolutely. Well, good luck tomorrow.
John,
if I was in this district, I'd be voting for you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Good point. Somehow that tape gave a wake-up call to John Bowman when that came out, Jamal Bowman. Everybody stick with us. When we come back, Bill O'Reilly. You don't want to miss it.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. We're going to go to Bill O'Reilly in a moment and also continue with the great chairman, Mike Turner of the House Intel Committee, who joins us in studio. But first, let's go back out to you, John, there at the big golf outing, United Metro Energy and WABC Radio at the Garden City Country Club. John, what do you got?
With us right now at the Garden City Golf Club. Well, it's a beautiful day. We have Phil Boyle, and he's president and CEO of the Suffolk County OTB, which owns the big casino out here in Exit 58. And they're making $1 zillion, but they're paying back $1 zillion to the consumer. So if you want to become a millionaire, well, you want to go to the casino. Phil, tell us about the casino.
Well, first, John, thank you so much for having me on. I'm always listening to your show every day, driving home from work, and listen to Common Sense, and we love what you say. Yeah, Jake's 58 Casino Hotel is doing great. We're out there in Islandia, New York. The thing to remember is we are one of only 2 government-owned casinos in the entire United States. So our profits go to the schools. It's not like a private entity. But we have a very loyal following, and we are about to expand. We just broke ground on a big expansion. We're going to go from 1,000 slot machines to 2,000 slot machines over the course of the next 2 years.
You're going to double your business.
Let's hope so. We're making money.
Tell us, there's more casinos coming in New York City. When do you think that's going to be announced?
Well, that's a good question. There's legislation to try and get it announced sometime next year. They've been delayed so far. There's going to be 3 what they call Class 3 casinos. That's table games. We do not have table games. We just have slot machines out at Jake's, but people love those as well. And, of course, Sands is trying for one in Nassau County.
Are you eligible to get table games, though?
We're not going to, because just to get the license, it's $500 million. That's too rich for our blood.
Well, you could pay in $500 million. And the state gets it back anyway, and you get it back.
They probably would, but I don't think they're going to let us do it in the first place. Maybe you can afford it. We can't.
Well, I can't. I pulled out of it. Phil Boyle, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for your support for WABC, too. And it's a beautiful day out here. And you like that Sinatra music?
We love it. We love it. It was a great day on the course. Beautiful. Thanks so much, John, for having us.
Thank you so much, and we'll catch up again real soon.
Look forward to it.
Thank you so much, John. Wow, what a beautiful day to be out there on the course. Well, not so beautiful if you watch an interview that we're going to talk about in a moment with Casey Hunt on CNN and the Trump National Campaign spokesperson. And joining us to talk about that exchange, which is making lots of headlines. Who better than the great Bill O'Reilly, who hosts Common Sense with Bill O'Reilly every weeknight here on WABC Radio, 9 to 10 p.m. Mega best-selling author and has another big book coming up very soon about the president. So how timely is that? Bill, great to have you here.
Rita, I just want to tell everybody that on debate night at 9 o'clock, we're going to be live, Rita and myself. And we're going to do something that I don't think has ever been done. We're going to do play-by-play of the debate on WABC Radio. So, therefore, we're going to be watching in real time. And we're going to be telling people listening to the radio, if you don't have a television set, exactly what they're saying, how they're saying it, who's winning, who's losing, and all of that. So that'll be 9 to 10 on Thursday night, and I'm looking forward to that.
I can't wait, Bill. And by the way, I've had a lot of people who've already said that they can't wait to tune in to hear our analysis, too. So I'm thrilled to be working with you on that, Bill. It's going to be great. So speaking of media, let's play it. This was CNN anchor Casey Hunt today. She is interviewing Caroline Leavitt, who is the national press secretary for President Trump, on the campaign. And she makes a good point, but CNN doesn't want to hear it. Take a listen.
To all corners of this country. That's why he was in Detroit, Michigan last week. He was in Philadelphia for a big rally on Saturday night. And that's why President Trump is knowingly going into a hostile environment on this very network, on CNN, with debate moderators who have made their opinions about him very well known over the past 8 years and their biased coverage of him. So President Trump is willing to bring his message to every corner of this country, to voters, to ensure that he wins this election in November. He looks forward to doing that. And I know the American public look forward to hearing from him.
So I'll just say my colleagues, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, have acquitted themselves as professionals as they have covered campaigns and interviewed candidates from all sides of the aisle. I'll also say that if you talk to analysts of debates previous, that if you're attacking the moderators, you're usually losing. So I really want to focus in on what these two men are going to do and say when they stand on the stage. Now, what do you expect from Joe Biden?
Well, first of all, it would take someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently
we're going to stop this interview if you're going to keep
President
attacking
Trump
my colleagues.
Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you
I'm
continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf,
and I
am
will
willing
do
to
that.
have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now, as
I'm
for
sorry,
this
guys.
debate,
We're going to
the
come back out to the
expectation
panel.
for-
Caroline,
the
thank you very much for
expectation-
your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate. Our thanks.
What a disaster, Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah. So both ladies made mistakes. Ms. Hunt was foolish to boot her because it was good TV. And the CNN morning program, nobody watches it. And I mean that literally. Their ratings are as low as you could possibly get.
Yeah, she should have
So
kept
why
it going
not?
for a few hours.
Yeah, why not have a big back and forth? I mean, I specialized in that on the O'Reilly factor. People would be engaged. So booting Caroline off was a bad move TV-wise. But Caroline was also coming into it in a confrontational way when she didn't have to. All she had to say to Ms. Hunt and CNN was, we're a little bit worried that Tapper and Dana Bash are not going to be fair to Donald Trump. We're a little bit worried about that. Can you reassure me, Casey? And that way you get your point across. And if Casey said, oh, no, they'll be – and then she could say, well, that's not the history. And she should have had one or two examples ready. So you can make your point without attacking front line. Now, Ms. Hunt should have basically said, after Caroline got through with her diatribe, well, why did your candidate agree to come on a program? If we're that bad, why did he agree? You see what I mean? So you can do this kind of a thing without having a blow-up like that, which turns into a cartoon.
Yeah, no, great points. By the way, Bill, also with us in studio is the chairman of the House Intel Committee, Chairman Mike Turner. Your thoughts, Chairman?
Hey, Bill, those are great points. You know, the other aspect I think here is that I hope that the Trump team is really looking at this as Trump's opportunity to speak to the American public and not just get into attacks of the moderators and attacks of Biden. I think Biden lives in a space where he comes out of the Senate. He's used to those types of attacks. This is a real opportunity where Trump's on the upswing here. If he makes the case, I'm not just offering you, these issues as policies. I have a record here, and compare my record to Biden, and I think that opportunity will really make a difference for him.
Maybe, but you're going to be obscured in that by the fact that Biden and the moderators most likely will deny whatever Trump says. So, Congressman, number one, I want you to do me a favor on your committee and have everybody go to BillO'Reilly.com every day. It's like mandatory.
Will you do that? Will you do that, Mr. Chairman?
I think everybody should, Bill, not just our committee.
You can pass this along to the former president. What he should do on Thursday night, no matter what the question is asked, no matter what he is asked, he should say the following. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But why don't you two ask Joe Biden about this? And then Trump throws a stat out. Why don't you? And then he does that every answer. What that does is it puts the moderators in a position, if they ignore the question, and they've got to be good questions from Trump. Because remember, Trump can't ask Biden anything directly himself. All right? But he can ask the moderators to ask Biden. That would be a coup like you would never see, because the CNN people would not know how to handle that. And then the question would be made visible to everybody all over the world. Yeah, why doesn't he ask Joe Biden about 15 million migrants, foreign nationals in this country? Yeah, why doesn't he ask Joe Biden that essentials of life are up 30% since he's been in office? Because you can't count on Tapper and Bash to ask those very specific questions. So that's my advice for Donald Trump. You do it. You basically be the moderator. Can you imagine if Trump did that? Oh, my God.
And I think it's a great idea, Bill, because you cannot bank, obviously, based on what we've seen, some of the way they've dumped out of Trump. I remember this moment where Jake Tapper, where Trump was talking about, quote, an invasion at the border. And Jake Tapper dumped out on the president speaking, saying, what is he talking about, an invasion? I think a lot of people would classify it as an invasion. So you're right, putting the pressure for him to ask those questions.
Right. If Donald Trump thinks out of the box, he can destroy President Biden and CNN at the same time. I've got 15 specific questions. I'll give you one more. All Trump has to do is go, you know, it's strange that Jake and Dana haven't asked President Biden that while I was president for 4 years, we didn't have any wars. We had Putin under control. We had the Middle East under control. But now all we have is conflict and confrontation. Why is that?
Yeah,
These
great.
are questions that are devastating, but they will not be asked. But Donald Trump, remember, he's uninterrupted. He can say whatever he wants to say in response to any question. All he does is deflect. I'll get to that in a moment. But why don't you guys ask him this? Oh, boy, if he does that, it's over.
By the way, I 1000% agree. And Bill, you and I are going to be together during the debate. So let's see if he does throw those questions out. We'll be talking about that for sure. Bill, thank you so much. And everybody tune in tonight. Common Sense with Bill O'Reilly, who always has such great common sense, at 9 p.m. And Bill, I'll talk with you on Thursday night. Boy, we're going to be in the middle of it. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me in.
Oh, thank you so much. And everybody, before we go, let's go back out to John, who has Andrew Giuliani. He is out there at Garden City Country Club in New York for the big WABC and United Metro Energy big golf outing.
Well, Andrew Giuliani is here. Are you having a great day on the golf course?
John, we had a great day. We played with Phil Boyle and the Jake's 58 team, and what a great day it was out there. Beautiful. Great to see the whole United and WABC team out there. And it was a wonderful day to see all of our sponsors, get an opportunity to talk with them. What a beautiful day. And I'll tell you, you couldn't ask for a better day. And did you let the customer win? You know, that's a good question. And generally, my former boss, Donald Trump, used to say, go win anyway. The only one you should let it win is me. So I don't know if we let him win or not. We'll have to see what the scoreboard looks like, John. Let me tell you, am I going to lose you in November if President Trump wins? I'll tell you what. That would be a conversation that I hope you, me, and President-elect Trump are having in November. Wouldn't that be a better conversation? Well, if he offers you a great enough job, I wouldn't blame you if you took it. Well, I can tell you one thing. If he doesn't win, Joe Biden's not going to be offering me a job. So that's a guarantee. For sure. Andrew Giuliani, thank you for everything you do for America. Thank you for speaking out for WABC, and we'll catch up again real soon. Thank you, John. God bless you. God bless.
How fun, you guys. And Congressman Turner, real quick, final thoughts.
Hey, Rita, just thank you and your team for everything you do in getting the word out. It is so great that you counter the messages that are out there and you give people real information that they need.
Well, we loved having you here. What a blessing to have you here. It was terrific. And you got to come back next time you're here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really great. And everybody, what do we stand for?
Truth, justice, and the American way.
God bless New York. God bless America. And tune in for the debate, everybody, too.